Betrayal doesn't always scream. Sometimes it smiles and assumes you'll never leave.
I never imagined trust could crumble so silently. Betrayal doesn't always storm in with shouts and shattered glass. Sometimes it just walks in smiling, sits across from you, and pretends nothing has changed. It all started with the little things, the subtle shifts I tried to ignore. Messages answered just a little too slowly. Stories that didn't quite line up the way they used to. A strange, new distance that I could feel in the air between us. When I first brought it up, you told me I was imagining things. That stress was making me paranoid, suspicious. And I wanted to believe you so badly, so desperately, that I accepted the doubt as my own creation, my own flaw. I started to question my own sanity instead of your honesty. Searching for clues, trying to pinpoint the exact moment when telling the truth became optional in our relationship. The final realization didn't come from a dramatic confrontation. It wasn't a confession tearfully whispered in the dark. It came from the patterns, the inconsistencies that grew so bold they refused to hide anymore. You stopped asking about my day. My wins and my struggles became invisible to you. You stopped caring about our plans, the future we used to build together with such excitement. Most painfully, you stopped looking at me like I was a part of your future at all. That's when I understood. Love doesn't just vanish overnight. It erodes slowly, grain by grain, while one person stands by, pretending everything is fine, and the other quietly dismantles the foundation. I stayed silent for longer than I should have. Not because I was weak or because I didn't know. I was silent because I was holding on to a sliver of hope that my quiet loyalty, my unwavering presence, would make you choose me again. I thought if I just loved you enough you would remember what we had, but my silence didn't bring you back. It did the opposite. It made you bolder, more careless. It convinced you that I would always stay, no matter what you did. My silence became your permission slip. The night everything became crystal clear, I didn't cry. I didn't shout or throw accusations. I simply listened. I listened as you spoke about freedom and excitement, as if loyalty was a heavy coat you had finally outgrown and cast aside. You spoke of your new life as if I was just an inconvenient footnote in your story. That was the moment. The moment I stopped trying to save us and started the long, quiet process of saving myself. I didn't confront you right then and there. Anger clouds judgment, and what I needed more than anything was clarity. Revenge wasn't my goal. Survival was. While you thought I was blissfully unaware, living in a comfortable illusion, I was quietly, methodically, separating my life from the one you were so carelessly tearing down. I started untangling my finances, my friendships, my future plans from yours. It was a silent, meticulous operation. I was learning a hard lesson. Comfort built on deception is the most fragile thing in the world. You had mistaken my comfort for complacency. You assumed the security of our life together meant permanence, that I would never find the courage to walk away from it all. What you never saw was the strength I was building in the quiet moments. You never realized that my patience wasn't a sign of weakness, but a training ground, preparing me to leave without shattering into a million pieces. I watched you make plans that no longer had a space for me. I saw the late-night texts you tried to hide. I heard the vague explanations for your absences. And I let you believe I was blind. I let you think your deception was working, but the truth is I wasn't blind. I was focusing. I was focusing on a future where your choices no longer had the power to dictate my peace of mind. I was preparing for a life that was entirely my own. When I finally decided to speak, it wasn't a spontaneous outburst. It was a planned event. I chose my time, my place. And when I spoke, you laughed at first. It was a condescending little laugh, the kind you give someone you think you have completely figured out. You mistook my calm for weakness, my quiet tone for uncertainty. But that laughter died in your throat when you realized I wasn't asking questions anymore. I wasn't seeking reassurance or begging for explanations. I simply told you, I know, not with accusations dripping with venom, but with a simple, unshakable certainty. And certainty is terrifying to people who build their worlds on a foundation of manipulation and lies. Your whole strategy collapsed. Suddenly, the power dynamic shifted. You started to bargain, to minimize your actions. You tried to twist reality to make me feel crazy again. This time, I just listened. I listened without interrupting, without arguing. I finally understood that closure doesn't require agreement. It doesn't need the other person to admit they were wrong. Closure is a decision you make for yourself. When you were done with your frantic performance, I walked away. Not with anger, but with boundaries. Firm, clear boundaries you never in a million years thought I would have the strength to enforce. You lost more than a partner that day. You lost the incredible privilege of being trusted without question. You lost the safety net of my unconditional love. While you were left scrambling to replace what you had so carelessly taken for granted, I was quietly rebuilding my life. I didn't post about it on social media. I didn't write thinly veiled posts about betrayal. I just focused on myself, and I discovered how incredibly peaceful a life filled with honesty can feel. My revenge wasn't about making you suffer. My revenge was my absence. It was removing myself completely from a story where I was no longer valued or respected. It was the quiet dignity of choosing myself. Months later, you reached out. Of course you did. Not because you missed me, but because the consequences of your actions had finally caught up with you. The freedom you craved had turned into loneliness. The excitement had faded, leaving a void. You missed the stability, the support, the easy comfort of having someone who always had your back. You missed what I gave, not who I am. I didn't respond with bitterness or anger. Bitterness is a poison you drink, hoping the other person will die. It only ties you to the past. Instead, I responded with the very thing you had taught me to master, silence. But this time, I was using it correctly. It wasn't the silence of a victim hoping to be chosen. It was the silence of a survivor who had already made her choice. And in that silence, I found the ultimate truth. The greatest revenge isn't about making someone else suffer. It's about refusing to suffer for them anymore. You expected me to break, to beg, to wait for you to come back. Instead, I chose to walk away whole. And that single choice, that quiet act of self-preservation, changed everything. If you've ever felt like this, know that your quiet strength is your greatest asset. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's necessary. Thank you for listening to my story. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content about finding strength and moving forward.